Chapter 8. Matt eased his truck into the visitor parking space at Vista Ridge High School. The school was new. Not a single taxpayer dollar was spared in its construction. "This place is something else," Matt said, surveying the sprawling campus. Joe nodded as he unbuckled his seatbelt. "Welcome to the new Vista Ridge. 10 years ago, this was all farmland. Now it's subdivisions, apartments, and shopping centers." They walked toward the main entrance, passing a bronze statue of a hawk in mid-flight, the school mascot rendered in dramatic detail. "Tell me about Officer Swift," Matt said, holding the door for Joe. "Bernard Swift. Been with the ISD police for about 3 years now," Joe replied. "Before that, he was with Vista Ridge PD, left under a cloud." "What kind of cloud?" Joe's expression darkened. "The kind where female drivers kept filing complaints about inappropriate comments during traffic stops. The department was building a case, but he resigned before they could finish the investigation. School district either didn't check or didn't care." The hallways were mostly empty, with just a few students lingering by their lockers or hurrying to after-school activities. Their footsteps echoed on the polished floors as they made their way through the building. "Officer Swift's office is down at the end of the main hallway," Joe explained. "Campus security hub." They rounded a corner and spotted a glass-walled office at the end of the corridor. Through the transparent partition, Matt could see a man in uniform seated at a desk, phone pressed to his ear. As they approached, the man, Swift presumably, looked up, nodded at them, and quickly ended his call. He stepped to the doorway, extending his hand. "Detective Foster," Swift said with practiced warmth. "Been expecting you." Bernard Swift stood about 5'10", with the kind of build that suggested he'd once been fit, but had softened with age. His balding head featured a meticulous comb-over that fooled no one, and his mustache was trimmed to regulation perfection. "This is Special Agent Matt Berry, TBI," Joe said. "He's assisting on the Merrick case." Swift's handshake was firm as he sized Matt up. "Come on in," he said, gesturing them inside his office. "Shame about the Merrick kid," Swift said as they took their seats. "Real shame." "How well did you know Raymond Merrick?" Matt asked. "Hardly knew him at all, to be honest," Swift said with a dismissive wave of his hand. "I mean, I knew who he was, of course. Everyone knew who Raymond Merrick was. Star quarterback, big man on campus." He shrugged. "But on a personal level?" "No, not really." Matt's eyes narrowed slightly. "You're the school resource officer. Star athlete like that never crossed your radar?" "Didn't say that. I said I didn't know him all that well personally." "But you dealt with him." "Of course." "What about disciplinary issues?" Joe asked. "Anything on Merrick's record we should know about?" Swift let out a short laugh, more like a scoff. "On paper, the kid's clean as a whistle. Not even a tardy slip in his file." "And off paper?" Matt asked, catching the implication in Swift's tone. Swift glanced toward the hallway, checking if anyone was within earshot. Despite the glass walls, he lowered his voice. "Off the record? Kid did whatever the fuck he pleased." Swift's professional demeanor slipped slightly. "Drinking on campus, skipping classes, parking wherever he wanted, nothing ever stuck to him." "Were there any conflicts between Raymond and other students, teachers, or staff that you know about?" Matt asked, watching Swift carefully. Swift exhaled slowly. "Nothing that would get him decapitated, if that's what you're asking." Joe pulled out his notepad. "I'd like a complete list of these conflicts, if you don't mind." Swift nodded. "I can put something together, but like I said, this is normal high school drama. Nothing that screams murder motive." "Let us decide what's relevant," Matt said. Swift nodded. "Fair enough." "Can you think of anyone who might have had a serious grudge against Raymond?" Matt asked. "Not just typical high school conflicts. I'm talking about real hatred." Swift leaned back in his chair, considering the question. "Well, first and foremost, the McKnight girl," he said, tapping his fingers on the desk. "Hard to imagine she wouldn't hate him after what happened." "What happened?" Matt asked. "Don't you guys know?" "Humor us," Matt said. "The sexual assault," Swift said. "Were you involved in any school-related investigation or disciplinary action regarding that incident?" Joe asked. "Of course." "What were your findings?" Matt asked. "Well," Swift hesitated, then said, "They were inconclusive." "Did your report exonerate Merrick and his friends?" Matt pressed. "The evidence was inconclusive," Swift said. It was obvious to Matt that Swift either didn't know or wasn't going to say. He wasn't in the mood to go around in circles with Swift, so he continued. "Who else might have a grudge against Merrick?" "It could be anybody. The kid was a total dick. I know the gods had a beef with some Latinos over parking spaces. That might be a place to start." "Can you give us more details about these conflicts?" "It was an argument over parking spaces, was my understanding." "Were these just verbal arguments, or did they escalate to physical confrontations?" Matt asked. "I'm not sure." "Do you have names?" Joe asked. "I'll have to check and get back with you," Swift said. "What are you going to check?" Matt asked. "Huh?" "You said that you'll have to check," Matt said, repeating Swift's words. "What are you going to check?" Swift motioned with his hand. "I'll have to ask around." Joe made a face, then asked, "Anyone else have trouble with Merrick?" Swift's mouth quirked into a humorless smile. "His girlfriend, Barbara Carter." "About?" Matt prompted. "What else?" Merrick couldn't keep it in his pants. "Kid banged everything that walked." Swift shrugged. "What specific incidents of cheating are you aware of?" Swift waved his hand. "I'm not an expert on Merrick's social life." "Who was he banging?" Joe asked, using Swift's terminology. "I don't have names. It was just common knowledge." "How did Barbara react to Raymond's infidelity?" "Any public confrontations or threats you witnessed?" Matt asked. Swift shook his head. "Again, it was common knowledge she was pissed about his cheating." "Anyone else?" Joe asked. "Probably a dozen others," Swift said. Raymond Merrick was the kind of kid who collected enemies like trading cards, stepped on whoever was in his way without a second thought. Matt studied Swift's face. The school resource officer's tone had become increasingly personal, almost bitter. "Sounds like you might have been on that list yourself, Officer Swift," Matt suggested. Swift's expression hardened. "I do my job, Agent Barry. My personal feelings don't enter into it." But Matt could see they already had. "When was the last time you saw Raymond?" Joe asked. "A couple of days ago," Swift replied. "When?" Joe repeated. "I don't recall." "Where were you yesterday?" Joe asked. Swift looked offended. "Seriously?" "Seriously," Joe said. Swift hesitated, then said, "I guess you guys have to look at everyone. I was at school until 5 and then went home." "Anyone at home with you?" "My wife, and she'll verify I was home all evening." "What time exactly did you leave school?" Joe asked. 5 p.m., same as always." "What did you do when you got home?" "Dinner and television." "Did you leave the house at all yesterday evening? Any stops on the way home?" "I went straight home and stayed there," Swift said. "Know anybody who'd want to kill him?" Joe asked. "Who wouldn't?" Swift replied, waving at 2 passing female students. "Your tone suggests you had your own problems with Raymond." "What specific incidents occurred between you two?" Matt asked. "The kid was an asshole was what I meant." "Were there any specific incidents?" Matt pressed. Swift seemed to search his memory. "Nothing really.